Good evening. I hope everyone is having a great week so far. I know it just started. I had today off, so I have definitely took today to recuperate and just relax. I took it was just a good self-care day. I'm not doing too much. And I know I just released an episode, but I just wanted to do another one because on a topic and to be a little bit transparent, that, I talked about on the last episode, it being Mercury retrograde and it's supposed to be affecting certain zodiac signs, and Virgo is one of them. I'm a Virgo, and it's definitely been impacting me in different ways and forcing me to release things, but also just giving me a lot of aha moments and just taking time to have clarity, which is something that I've been asking God for, which is a lot of clarity and just showing me I don't want to mess up. I don't want to go the wrong way. I want to go where I'm supposed to be around who I'm supposed to be. And so sometimes that will involve some forms of pain of letting things go and letting people go. And something that I realized, a few weeks ago, I think, or a month or so ago, I realized that I had taken down all of my sticky notes with my affirmations and my not goals, but my manifestations. I don't know why I did that. I just took everything down and I can't find it, and I've been wondering why I've been feeling like nothing is happening and God is not talking to me, and just feeling like I'm in this whirlwind space of I know what I want, but I'm not even seeing which way to go to get there. And I see still the angel numbers and stuff like that, but it's not really becoming not meaningful, but it's just to a point where I'm like, all right, I don't even understand what's going on anymore. And so I took it upon myself to redo my manifestations, write down what I do want, what I don't want when it comes to a relationship. And because I was listening to a podcast and she was talking about when it comes to your relationships, what are your non-negotiables, what are your deal breakers. And that was something that my therapist told me I was supposed to do, and I just hadn't done it. So I did it today, and I'm gonna write more affirmations down. But I had come across 2 posts on Instagram, but then I also was trying to read. I've been catching up on podcasts, some podcasts I listen to, and then I wanted to do a little bit of reading, but from that book, the 101 Essays That Change the Way You Think. So there is a thing on there that I'm going to read, but first I was going to read the 2 Instagram posts that I saw. It's from at Planet 88. She says, the enemy wants us to believe we're suffering when God is really shifting. Stay faithful. I like this because, like I said, lately I've been feeling with the Mercury retrograde that it's just really been, I can feel the shift. It's just, I'm just trying to understand how it's all coming together, what God is doing. And I'm grateful for God to be making shifts in my life, and that this time is happening so that I can get to where I want to be. Because I was listening to a sermon today, and he was talking about I hope I didn't just lose my train of thought. Hold on. When I was talking about the shifting. Oh, okay. So he was saying how that God thinks it's disrespectful when you settle for great, not settle for great, but when you settle for good. And the sense of he was saying how Peter and I don't know who the other person was. 2 of the disciples, they had their mom ask Jesus to, basically she was like, yeah, I know you're working on your funeral and you're about to transition and stuff, and you're saying that you're gonna die for us, but is it possible that when that happens that my 2 sons can get a position, a higher position, to help carry on your work? And so when I first heard it, I was like, oh man, like that's kind of bold to ask Jesus, like, yeah, I know you're about to prepare to die, but you mind hooking us up with a job, like, kind of thing. And he was saying how, like, that's how we would think from ego, but how God wants you to do that, things like that, and wants you to ask for more. Because he was saying how, like, in church you grow up and we're taught, like, within the faith, like, you're not supposed to ask for more. You're supposed to be grateful for what you have and be thankful for where you are. And while that's true, God didn't sacrifice his only son and have him die on the cross for us just to settle for where you are, in the sense of, like, you should always but always want more for yourself and want even greater for yourself. And yes, it's important to be appreciative of where you are and to enjoy the now, but you should still want within your heart to always do better and get better for yourself. And so sometimes I think the enemy can use that against us, like when we're in this space of shifting and you feel like things are falling apart. And you can start to feel like, all right, dang, like maybe I'm not being grateful of where I'm at because, I have these things that, 9 times out of 10 where you are now, you prayed to be there years ago or months ago or whatever. So you should be thankful for that, but you should also follow, like, if God put it in you to want more, then that's what you're supposed to. Basically, I got the message that you always supposed to ask God for more in a good way, not out of greed, but out of, I want to be the best that you can be. Because he also said that we don't know what happens after this. So you're supposed to, he used the analogy of, like, his mom and how she used to, like, eat chicken, and how he said, like, when he was eating the chicken, she was like one of those people that would be like, oh, you done with that chicken? Because he would just eat it, like, the meat off of it, and, like, there would still be, some meat left on it, and how she would eat it down to the bone. And he was saying, everyone in the people were, like, chuckling along and stuff like that, and he was laughing about it too. But he said, you laugh, but that's how God wants you to be about life. He wants you to suck everything out of life to the bone, because you gotta take everything that you can out of this life, and not in a bad way, like stealing, but like take it all for what it's got, like get as much as you can out of this life. And so with that being said, like, don't settle for just the good. Like, he was saying how a lot of times people will say, oh, I'm doing good, like I'm paying my bills and I have money to go on vacation and I might even have a little extra money to do some shopping. But God wants you to want more than that for yourself. If you're doing good, that's not enough. Like, you should want great. And then when you get to great, you should want the best. And when you get to the best, you want, top notch, creme de la creme, whatever, like just keep going and keep wanting more for yourself, because you deserve it. And when you deserve it and you know that you deserve it, then God will give it to you. And, basically what I took it as he was saying is, like, God is going to give you everything that you want as long as you ask for it and you work for it. God's not gonna just give you the $1 million. Like he said, the guy said, the pastor was saying, like, you're not gonna go to your mailbox and there's gonna be a check for $1 million. Because he was like, if that's the case, then more than likely that's fraud. But he was saying, obviously, you're gonna have to ask for God for something and you're gonna have to put in the work on your end. But God it's kind of like, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but a different pastor, one that I always talk about, Jerry Flowers, and he was saying how, like, life is like the elevator, right? And God wants you to get to, like, a certain floor, or like he might have, God already wrote your life out for you. And obviously we have free will, so we might get a little deterred, but that's why God wants you to have faith. Like this thing is saying, stay faithful, and to consistently communicate with God. And he will tell you where he wants you to go to be able to fulfill your heart's desires that he put into you. So when you're on the elevator, it's like, don't stop at the the 7th floor, just because, all right, maybe the 7th floor has the dream job. You finally got the dream job, but then in it you might be feeling great and you're making a certain salary and you're able to pay your bills and stuff. But then it's like, if you could do that, why not get back on the elevator and go up higher? And sometimes that people get stuck in the elevator on the certain floor because they're just settling for, okay, this looks good, this feels good right now, but like, I don't know. I know for me personally, I've felt that where even like now, like I wanted the job that I'm at, but I know in my heart that that's not the end, that's not the last stop for me. And so when you recognize that in yourself, you have to make the effort to keep going and to try to figure out, okay, God has something more for me. Yes, I'm going to be appreciative of where I'm at, but I know this is not enough. And there are people in this world, unfortunately, who do stop and who say, well, this is good. What if I make that change or make that step and it brings me back? Or it messes me up. So they kind of get into that fight or flight mode, or just like staying in the good versus like going for greatness. So I think that was a great message, and I'll try to post it on my Instagram, or at least like take a screenshot of it so that if you want to listen to it, you can listen. It was a really great sermon. And then the other post that she had was, this is not the pastor, this is just from Instagram, but it's the same girl at Planet 88. She said, and this is she's really into astrology, so she's talking about the Mercury retrograde with this. She said, God is teaching us to have patience with not only ourselves, but our surroundings as well. A lot of changes are happening, and it's easy for us to get caught up in disappointment and defeat. Stay faithful. This was another message that I really enjoyed, because I was feeling like that, like where I'm feeling like right now, a lot of changes are happening. There's a lot of things and people that I feel like are disconnected and just not how it usually is. And like, I know that the retrograde is ending next week, Sunday. And so I'm happy for that, just to see, like, to go into the next season of what that's going to bring. But it's tough. It's hard because it is going to be, a little bit hard when there's a lot of changes happening. You don't understand, especially if it's changes where you're losing people or losing things that you thought were supposed to be there for you. It could be challenging, and you also to still have patience too, because you're like, especially when it's slowly drifting out or slowly happening, and you're trying to be like, okay, is this person is this transitioning with me out of the retrograde, or this is not coming with me out of it? And you can get caught up, right, in the defeat and the sadness of it. But again, she's saying stay faithful, and I think that's important to do at this time. Just keep going. We're almost through it. If you've been struggling through this retrograde, just let it do its thing. To be honest, let God do its thing, because it's going to be the best thing for us. And so I wanted to talk about this chapter in the book that I was reading from the 100 Essays That Will Change Your Way You Think by Brianna Weiss. And I don't keep saying episode, sorry. The chapter is called Uncomfortable Feelings That Actually Indicate You're on the Right Path. So I'm going to read a little excerpt and then go through each one. So it says, discomfort is what happens when we are on the precipice of change. Unfortunately, we often confuse it for unhappiness and cope with the latter while running from the former. It usually takes a bit of discomfort to break through to a new understanding, to release a limiting belief, to motivate ourselves to create real change. Discomfort is a signal, one that is often very helpful. Here are a few less than desirable feelings that may indicate you're on the right path after all. Okay, so again, I feel like this ties into just what I was talking about, like Mercury retrograde. You can feel like you're uncomfortable. At least for me, I feel sometimes it's a little bit uncomfortable because I'm not sure of what's going to be happening. But I feel like, just even reading stuff like this, it helps you know that I am on the right path at this time and releasing what needs to be released. So 1, feeling as though you are reliving your childhood struggles. You find that you're seeing issues you struggled with as a kid reappear in your adult life. And while on the surface this may seem like a matter of not having overcome them, it really means you are becoming conscious of why you think and feel so you can change it. I like this because it's true, especially during this time, during retrograde. It definitely will bring upon some childhood things that you need to release in your inner child, like the shadow work that I've talked about before, and learning how to heal your inner child so that you can go on to the next thing for yourself. Number 2, feeling lost or directionless. Feeling lost is actually a sign you're becoming more present in your life. You're living less within the narratives and ideas that you premeditated and more in the moment at hand. Until you're used to this, it will feel as though you're off track. You aren't. So, again, just feeling, sometimes when we feel lost, that's actually a good thing. Although I used to think a lot of times when I feel lost that something was wrong. And I've learned throughout this spiritual journey that when I get lost, that usually means that, again, like kind of in this time right now where I'm feeling lost and I'm feeling like, all right, I'm not sure what's going on, but I'm paying attention to what's going on, and I'm reevaluating. I'm going back to old habits that are good for me, which was writing down affirmations, writing down my manifestations, speaking them out, and with faith, and talking to God more, being quiet. There's a video I'm going to post about that too. A lesson that I've learned about being quiet as well. And when I'm saying being quiet, it's meanings like not always having to feel like you have to share what's between you and God, right? If you feel like something is going to happen in your life, you don't have to tell anybody. Just let it happen first, at least, just talk to God about your excitement for it and let it do its thing. Number 3, left brain fogginess. So when you're utilizing the right hemisphere more often, you're becoming more intuitive. You're dealing with emotions you're creating. Sometimes it can seem as though left brain functions leave you feeling fuzzy. Things such as focusing, organizing, and remembering small details suddenly become difficult. I definitely can relate to this. I've been feeling that lately, where because I'm making a conscious effort to be more in tune with my emotions, that when it comes to I haven't lost common sense, but I've been a little bit slower on thinking a little bit with certain things. And because I'm coming into things thinking more from an emotional side, I've noticed that I'm moving or thinking a little bit slower lately. Like certain things are hitting me when they're hitting me, but I'm feeling through them first before actually thinking about it, if that makes sense. And so this is Libra season now, so it's all about trying to figure out the balance between the two, at least for me. Learning how to allow, because I feel like before I always used to be just thinking. I always think and not feel, and then it was like, okay, I can understand what's going on, but I don't really fully understand it because I'm not feeling it. But now I'm feeling it, but now I'm like, oh, but I still gotta think about it too. So it's just that balance. Number 4, having random influxes of irrational anger or sadness that intensify until you can't ignore them anymore. When emotions erupt, it's usually because they're coming up to be recognized, and our job is to learn to stop grappling with them or resisting them and to simply become fully conscious of them. After that, we control them, not the opposite way around. So kind of like I was saying, now trying to allow myself to feel the emotions, and it is true. If you allow yourself to feel them rather than suppress them, they won't feel like they're coming up. Because when something is coming up, I feel when it's saying like that means it's like a bunch of emotions that you've been pushing down, and now they're getting bubbled up and they can't stay there anymore. Versus as the emotion comes, let it do its thing, feel it, and then keep going. And don't let it control you. You control them. Number 5, experiencing unpredictable and scattered sleeping patterns. You'll need to sleep a lot more or a lot less. You'll wake up in the middle of the night because you can't stop thinking about something. You find yourself full of energy or completely exhausted and with little in between. So yeah, definitely. Your brain kind of is like an overdrive, I feel, with that, and it can mess up your sleep. And, just, allowing yourself, when you're in this space of discomfort, it can be hard to sleep because you're going to be thinking about stuff. Number 6, a life-changing event is taking place or just has. You suddenly have to move, getting divorced, losing a job, having a car breakdown, etc. So this is another sign of that you're on the right path. Just keeping that in mind. So a life-changing event usually means like you're on the right path, like a breakup or something like that. Number 7, having an intense need to be alone. You're suddenly disenchanted with the idea of spending every weekend out socializing, and other people's problems are draining you more than they are intriguing you. This means you're recalibrating. Definitely agree with that. Just getting to a space where you just want solitude. You don't want to do the same things that maybe you used to do, or at least doing it in moderation. And you do want to recalibrate. You are trying to figure out, all right, this is where I'm at. This is where I'm trying to go. What do I need to do to change to get there? Number 8, intense, vivid dreaming that you almost always remember in detail. If dreams are how your subconscious mind communicates with you or projects an image of your experience, then your mind is definitely trying to say something. You're having dreams at an intensity that you've never experienced before. Definitely can relate to that. I feel like lately, especially like last week, I was having a lot of vivid dreams that involved usually a lot of me and my brothers were in a lot of the dreams, and just like family. It was just a lot of family stuff that I was having dreams on, but it was like a mix too, because it was like family, but it would be like a random celebrity or something like in there, or just people that I knew. Like it was just a lot of close family and friends that were in my dreams and different things that were happening. And I just remember, can't remember for detail all the dreams, but definitely been having intense dreams too during this retrograde. So, yeah, it is like it says, it's your subconscious mind communicating with you or trying to tell you something. So just be aware of that as well. Number 9, downsizing your friend group. Feeling more and more uncomfortable around negative people. The thing about negative people is that they rarely recognize they are negative. And because you feel uncomfortable saying anything, and you're even more uncomfortable keeping that in your life, you're ghosting a bit on old friends. I can definitely understand that. Lately, I have definitely been feeling like that. Maybe not ghosting anyone yet, but just limiting my communication with them or changing the way that I communicate with them, and being okay with like certain people just not being in my life anymore, because they're just not contributing positively to me, or looking out for me. Right now, it's a big thing is like the people around me in my life that I talk to, are they looking out? Do they care about how I feel? And do they have my best interest in mind as far as like my feelings? Because right now, like I said, I'm definitely trying to be more in tune, something that I've been working on is emotional vulnerability. And so with that it's been making me more emotional and more like a little sensitive to certain things, and just feeling like, dang, like this is what it means. This is what it feels like to be emotionally available. Like I don't, because like before I would always just be like, oh, whatever, I don't care. Brush it off. When, yeah, it probably did hurt my feelings or something like that, but I was in this like tough space of like, whatever, I got stuff to do. I don't care, and like kind of having that mindset. And now I'm like, dang, that actually kind of hurt my feelings. Like I want to bust you in your mouth, but at the same time, like, dang, that kind of hurt. I'm not gonna lie. That kind of, you kind of got me with that, but like, because that was where I was coming from, where it was just like, oh, word, that's what we on? All right, well, whatever, you're done. Like, I cut you off and just, just react that way. Now I'm just like, oh, okay, I might shed a tear or two, you know what I'm saying? But like, now I'm like, okay, respect. Like, if anything, I just run to God and I'm just like, thank you for, showing me. Maybe not the way that it happened. I know that that's not the greatest way for it to happen, but at least like now I see what's up, and like just bringing me closer to God. If anything, it's really just, this is a time that's really brought me closer to God, and I really appreciate it. And so number 10, it says feeling like the dreams you had for your life are collapsing. So again, keep this in mind. These are things that show or signs that you're on the right path. So like it says, feeling like the dreams you have for your life are collapsing. What you do not realize at this moment is that it is making way for a reality better than you could have thought of. One that's more aligned with who you are, not who you thought you would be. I love this because it's true. And I've talked about this numerous times on the episode about how I came to be and like how I got to where I am as far as with the podcast and stuff and certain things that were happening in my life. And just from then on, I've definitely had just a couple of times where this has happened where I feel like the dreams that I have for myself are not coming together. And I'm feeling like, dang, like, am I not supposed to, is this all? You know, I think there was a point where that I was feeling like that. I feel like in the summertime, I was feeling like, dang, is this it? Like, as far as like my career and my work life, because I felt like actually after I graduated and I got my degree, I would say a month later, I was feeling like, dang, like in my job, like, all right, I don't know. I'm not sure on this anymore. And I'm feeling like this can't really be all that God wants me to be. And so having conversations with my mom and her telling me like, you have to trust what you feel. Like if that's what obviously, you know that God doesn't want you just to do that, but you have to just, you know, take everything that you can from this experience, like the job, suck the life out of the job as far as like for your next move. Think about what your next move and what you need to take from this job to get there. And so like I was talking about earlier, the analogy of like the chicken bone, like, and with life, and like take everything that you can out of this life, right? And so you should be the same with opportunities. Like I got to take everything I can out of this job because I know this is not my, you know, the floor that I'm staying on. I got off the elevator and I'm here, but I'm still going to get back on that elevator. So I got to take as much as I can while I'm on this floor to get to the next one. Right? Feeling as though, number 11, feeling as though your worst enemies are your thoughts. You're beginning to realize that your thoughts create your experience, and it's often not until we're pushed to our wits' end that we even try to take control of them. And that's when we realize that we were in control all along. So yeah, feeling like your thoughts are playing with you, you know, or putting you in a space. Like your thoughts control your emotions, so you're in control of all of that. So just being aware of what you think about. Number 12, feeling unsure of who you really are. Your past illusions about who you should be are dissolving. You feel unsure because it is uncertain. You're in the process of evolving, and we don't become uncertain when we change for the worse. We become angry and closed off. In other words, if what you're experiencing is insecurity or uncertainty, it's usually going to lead to something better. Let me read that one again. So number 12, feeling unsure of who you really are. Your past illusions about who you should be are dissolving. You feel unsure because it is uncertain. You're in the process of evolving, and we don't become uncertain when we change for the worse. There's more, but I'm going to stop there. Definitely can understand that, because when you let go of who you think you should be and you become who God wants you to be, you will be in a space where when you're in the process of evolving, you're not even sure like what you're evolving to, right? But when you're uncertain of when you're in change and you're uncertain, that's that it's saying that's a good thing, because you're changing for the better, because you're not sure completely of what better means, right? Because if you think about it, like they always say, when God takes away something, it's for him to bring something better. You don't ever really know what the better is, right? But you just know that it's better than it's gonna be better according to him, and it's better than where you're at right now. But when you feel like things are being taken away and you know what's gonna be replaced with, it's 9 times out of 10 is because it's gonna be worse, because you're taking control of it rather than letting God take control. I hope that makes sense. And then it says, we become angry and closed off. In other words, if what you're experiencing is insecurity or uncertainty, it's usually going to lead to something better. So just learning to let, uncertainty play a positive role in your life, and let the universe take control. Number 13, recognizing how far you still have to go. Again, these are what I'm reading off are signs of that you're on the right path, right? It's uncomfortable feeling, but it means you're on the right path. So number 13, recognizing how far you still have to go. It says when you realize this, it's because you can also see where you're headed. It means you finally know where and who you want to be. So that's a good sign when you feel like, again, like I was saying, when you get to a job or whatever and you're like, okay, this is what I, dreamed of it to be, but you also have a feeling in your heart and your soul where you're like, this is not it though. I still have more work to do. I still have more greatness to achieve. And like he was saying before, like take all you can out of life and don't just accept good. Don't just accept great. Keep going higher. So when you recognize that you still have a far way to go, it means that you know who you are and where you are and where you're trying to get to. And that's always a good thing when you know what you're trying to be, where you're trying to go. You have a sense of self and you're connected with God. Number 14, knowing things you don't want to know, such as what someone is really feeling or that a relationship isn't going to last or that you won't be at your job much longer. What did I just say? What did I just say about not knowing that you're not going to be there, right? Number 14, I'll read it again. Knowing things you don't want to know, such as what someone is really feeling or that a relationship isn't going to last or that you won't be at your job much longer. A lot of irrational anxiety comes from subconsciously sensing something, yet not taking it seriously because it isn't logical. I'm sorry, I messed that up. I'll read it again. A lot of irrational anxiety comes from subconsciously sensing something, yet not taking it seriously because it isn't logical. So, like that, trusting your gut, you're being in tune with your intuition, like I was saying, when I know, like, okay, this job is, now that I'm not distracted by school and I'm in a calmer state and I'm more in tune with where I am in life, I'm realizing that this is not the end all. This is not the last stop. And sometimes it was hard because I knew it took me a lot of work to get there. And when you do that work, you kind of feel like, dang, I don't feel like doing that again. Like, I gotta do more to get even higher. I got to do this again. I just got here, but that is a good thing because that means God wants you to keep going. God's going to give you more if you ask for it. So you have to be able to ask. You want to know to ask more. And so also I just want to touch on what it says about knowing that, like, knowing things that you don't want to know, like I think what it's saying about like the relationship part, like when like, dang, this is not the person for me. Or, I know that I've been maybe like keeping things casual with this person or whatever. And we don't really talk about our feelings, but I don't ask this person what their feelings are because you might already intuitively know, like, this person doesn't have these feelings for me, or it's just we're not aligned. And so, that's usually when you are able to come to terms with that. It might not feel great, but it's a good thing because that's like a sign, like it says, that you're on the right path and that you know that this is not, there's more for you. There's better for you out there. Number 15, having an intense desire to speak up for yourself. Becoming angry with how much you've let yourself be walked on or how much you've let other people's voices get into your head is a sign that you're finally ready to stop listening and love yourself by respecting yourself first. Again, this is, I feel, tapping into that idea of like loving your inner child, speaking up for your inner child, and, maybe certain situations that you went through as a kid, you didn't have the tools to speak up for yourself or allow yourself to be treated the way you want to be, or you deserve to be treated. And now you have to learn to love yourself and respect yourself more than anything else or anyone else first. And so it's going to push you to want to speak up for yourself, even if that means you lose people or you lose things or whatever, or, relationships don't work anymore. It doesn't matter. It's about you. So number 16, sorry, it's really loud out in the hallway. Realizing you are the only person responsible for your life and your happiness. This kind of emotional autonomy is terrifying because it means that if you mess up, it's all on you. At the same time, realizing it is the only way to be truly free. The risk is worth the reward on this one, always. So I'll read it again. Realizing that you are the only person responsible for your life and your happiness. This kind of emotional autonomy is terrifying because it means that if you mess up, it's all on you. At the same time, realizing it is the only way to be truly free. The risk is worth the reward on this one, always. So, again, taking responsibility for you. You have to raise your inner child. You have to love on yourself first before anybody else. And you're responsible for everything that happens to you and how you handle things. It's a big responsibility, but it's definitely, like it said, it's rewarding. And it's truly freeing because that means that you will move and do things in a way that is always going to make you happy before you think about someone else. And you're on the right path because you're thinking about, making sure that your heart is taken care of and your emotions are being taken care of and you're being taken care of. And that is, how God wants you to be, because that would be, again, you coming from a space of, I'm going to take everything that I can out of this world and I'm going to do so by making sure that I get what I want. And so that is, a way that that you're on the right path. So I hope this was helpful. I think those were all the things that were on there, but I am going to post the 2 things that I read plus this video of this girl when she's talking about from TikTok that I came across. She was talking about the importance of being silent, and how, sometimes when we are seeing something coming, a manifestation coming to our life, we want to run and tell our family or our friends or somebody else. And then she was saying that God will sometimes take it won't come through at that time because you running your mouth and it's supposed to be between you and God. Some things just got to be between you and God. And I think I've talked about this before, how like God will use you and use your life and use certain things in your life to show his power and show how great he is. And so sometimes you just got to keep your mouth shut and let God speak for himself and through you. And then when everything is coming together, then you could be like, all right, I prayed for this and thank God. And you can give God the glory, right? Because that's what God wants you to do, to give his glory and show to other people how great he is and how he can do. If he could do it for me, he could do it for you type of idea. So I really like the message that this girl was saying in her TikTok. So I'll post that as well. And I think that's all I have to say for this episode. I hope that was helpful. And hopefully everyone has a great rest of the week. I will do another episode later on in the week. Usually I do it on Sunday. And more than likely I will. But hopefully this was helpful. And as always, I'm your host, Chanel. This is Black Hippie Lounge. Meditate, manifest, invest in you. If you can, rate and review the podcast and follow on major platforms. And just keep going. We're almost there at the end of this retrograde. So just remember to stay on the right path. Meditate, manifest, invest in you. Join me on my spiritual journey as I elevate myself and like-minded listeners to a higher level, mentally, physically, and spiritually. Thank you for listening. This is Black Hippie Lounge, and I am your host, Chanel.